Alright, welcome back to another game? Welcome back to another episode of Gamers Remorse. Today we're looking at A Study in Emerald, Tree Frog Games. Neil Gaiman, it's based off of the short story he did using the H.P. Lovecraft mythos and Sherlock Holmes.
Tree Frog Games and Grey Fox, right?
Yes. Grey Fox, yes.
Yeah. A Study in Emerald puts you in the era of Sherlock Holmes, or Cthulhu, or both. Cthulhu Holmes! Today we're checking out the game A Study in Emerald. Neil Gaiman. Well, I guess he wrote the short story, so let's check out the game by Martin Wallace. And Tree Frog Games. Alright, so here is the board. Basically what the board is made up of are cities, so Madrid, Rome, Cairo, Constantinople, a scoring chart, so these are each of the players I have set up, green, blue, yellow, obviously, a loyalist and restorationist track, so each player has a secret identity, whether they're a loyalist or a restorationist. The loyalists like the Elder Gods and want them to come to the world and take over. Restorationists are humanity lovers who don't want that to happen. Each town has a set of cards. What you have are the city card itself, and then of course an Elder God in that city, and then 5 other cards. These are shuffled together. Go ahead and do that. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Put that there, and then flip over the top card. We'll go ahead and, just for humor's sake, we'll go ahead and assume all the other cities are already done that way, even though they aren't. Here is a secret card. As the Restorationists, your goal is to kill Elder Gods. Your objective is to kill Elder Gods. So here's the Spinner of Darkness, located right there in Rome, believe it or not. And then a bunch of other cards. So, as a Restorationist, your goal is to kill Elder Gods or score purple points. Your objective as a Loyalist is to kill Restorationists or score green points. At the beginning of the game, you will receive 5 cubes. I've gone ahead and placed the cubes on all the cities. They don't start out that way. And then 5 cubes, of course, go over here into the void. You'll also get a set of agents that'll go right in front of you. And 2 agents will go ahead and go on the board in whatever location you decide. Players take turns placing them there. You'll also get 10 player cards that you go ahead and shuffle. There's a starting deck with your color on the back, so blue here is Thursday is the name. On your turn, you'll be able to play 2 actions that are entirely dependent on what cards you have in your hand. So you draw up 5 cards into your hand, and the actions that you're able to perform are up here on the upper left. So this symbol here will let you take a cube from the void over here. The reason for that is you only can put cubes from your personal supply onto the board. Without cubes in your supply, you can't put any more out there. So this is really the first step of how you play the game, is you want to take cubes from the void. These let you place cubes onto cities. Each of these cubes are influence cubes. So for the more cubes that you have in a location, the more influence you have. So over here you can see that yellow has quite a bit of influence already. Green has a lot of influence in London. What other actions are there? This one lets you move an agent. You would want to do that, for instance, yellow has outnumbered green here, so there's a threat of them assassinating the green player. So the green player might want to move out of there. This card lets you claim a card. That first icon there. What that means is if you have more influence in a location than any other player, you're able to take the top card. So for instance, right here, yellow actually has more influence because they have more pieces there, right? That includes agents and influence cubes. Over here, you would have blue. Blue would have more influence. So if we look at the card here, it provides more actions. The more cards you take, you put them into your discard pile. Eventually they'll be shuffled. You'll draw them again, and they give you more options. So this one gives you a use once action. The Necronomicon doesn't give you any actions. However, it does give you victory points, which are in the upper right-hand corner. We'll get into those more in a bit. One thing I failed to mention is that whenever you have the most influence in an area and you play the card that has a first symbol, it lets you pick up the card on the top, which I did mention before. What I didn't mention is if it has this symbol up here. This symbol up here allows you to place another agent in that location. You don't have to, but you may. So the blue player, when they pick that up, go ahead and place their agent pawn there. However, when you claim a card, all of your influence in that city is removed, put into the void. All other ones either go back to the supply of the player, or they do go back to the supply of the player whose it is. Okay. What about this card? So this card allows you to assassinate, or you can pick up cubes from the void, obviously. So what assassinate lets you do is it lets you try and kill a monster or elder god, assuming it's showing in the city, or it allows you to assassinate another player. When you assassinate an elder god, it needs to be showing, so it needs to have come up previously, and they are placed right beneath the city space. So let's say you want to assassinate this elder god. First, you would need to play the assassinate card that I had shown here, so you would play that down as one of your two actions. Then you would need to play as many bomb cards as the value of that card. So you would need to find numerous cards with that bomb symbol on it in your hand and play those down to successfully assassinate this god. Once you have successfully assassinated this god, you perform any special action at the bottom, which doesn't have any, thankfully. But you get these purple points. So the purple score would move up 4, and then there's also this symbol here. This symbol here is the sanity symbol. So what that means is you have to roll the sanity die, located here. You go ahead and roll that. Oh, it rolled a black sun, and what that means is you lose one of your 3 sanity, discarding it from the game. Once you're down to 0 sanity, you end up showing your identity to everyone so that they are aware what team you are on. Assuming it's the other team, they might want to attack you from now on. Player in a location, these are the number of bomb points you need to place in order to assassinate the other player. So in this case, only yellow would be able to assassinate because it has the most influence in the area, counting the agent. And another agent exists there. So yellow would assassinate green. They would need to play 2 bomb points. They would get 3 points themselves, and then they would move the restorationist track up 1 due to that purple arrow. So we can move that up there. The assassinated token, depending on the card, is either removed from the game or given back to the player, or say give it back to the player. And then, of course, you would get 3 points as the yellow player. So 1, 2, 3. The game ends once a restorationist is revealed, should they go insane, or once one of the tracks moves to the 10 spot. That has been a study in Emerald.
Anyway, I guess just moving right into it. The gameplay, it's a deck builder. Brian, guys, what did you think?
It was a lot more fighty than regular deck builders. Deck builders are usually in your lane, you're trying to optimize. This game had a lot more thematic tension between the loyalists, right, and the restorationists. And so you're constantly, you got this mix of, what's the right words? the Cold War between the two factions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't want to quite do anything that puts you out there as, oh man, I'm a restorationist, and then the loyalists are after you. And the same thing from the other side, especially when there's 3 of us playing. Maybe less so when there's 5 of you, but when there's 3 of you, anything too soon, not subtle, is bad news. And so there was a lot of tension brimming on the surface with that. And then underneath, you have the deck builder mentality where you're trying to construct your deck to do 1 or 2 different things. I found that very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because you want to try and get as many purple ups or green ups as you can, but you don't want other people to see that, so you're trying to also add in green cards with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought, well, what struck me most about gameplay is an interesting amalgamation of mechanics. I never thought I would say that saying. But there's an aspect of worker placement, but there's a dichotomy of workers of agents versus influence.
Yeah.
And you're kind of maneuvering those about. But then you're also deck building. But then there's aspects of combat in the form of assassinations, as well as in the form of controlling influence. And so we had one form in which Eric was assassinating people. Sean and I were fighting over influence in certain locations.
Yep.
And then Eric and I weren't too combative necessarily. But there were times where I'm like, I want to go there, but he has 4 agents on it, so
Right.
not even going to try.
Yep.
So it's interesting because I felt like there's so many things. I think it took me a while to understand every layer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But once I understood it, I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is interesting.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to wrap my mind around at first, but once I had that snap, like, I wanted to immediately try to figure more out. If that makes sense.
I would describe this game in movie terms as a psychological Cold War thriller.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what it feels
Yeah.
like, because it's like, is he? And then finally it does happen, and all hell breaks loose, or all Cthulhu breaks loose.
Yeah.
It was exciting the whole time. I was kind of on the edge of my seat.
It was interesting too, because we were talking about the loyalists and restorationists. There is that mechanic of hidden roles as well. I think that kind of and it's not necessarily a player elimination, because once you lose all of your sanity or all of your agents, you flip over your card. At least for the loyalists. I don't know about restorationists. You flip it over and it is revealed what you are. So that way, I mean, essentially you will have that target on your back for anyone that's against you.
Yep.
So
Same thing.
Yeah.
The restoration.
And with restorationists, the game ends immediately when your card is revealed.
Yep.
So it's interesting because instead of elimination, it's pretty much an end game, almost essentially.
Yep.
I thought it was quite intriguing. How about artwork? What are your guys' thoughts about the design?
It's absolutely beautiful.
It is.
I don't know how much more I can add to that, right? Yeah. So it's got the 1920s kind of feel, very beautiful Art Deco sort of thing going on, lots of scales and tentacles. It's
Arms.
Beautiful. Each card has its own unique art as well, which I really liked. The iconography stood out to me.
Yep.
In the beginning, I got a little confused with what does an up arrow versus a down arrow mean? And you know what I mean? Those conversations. So once you guys described to me, well, hold your cards like this, moron, instead of like this. Because I was like, up means put back. And they're like, no, up means pick up. And I was like, oh, duh. But other than that, I mean, the icons made sense. And once you got into the flow of it, it worked out great. And I love the little hat teeples.
Yeah.
The little agent dudes.
Yeah.
I really like that. Lots of wood in this game. Not much cardboard per se. Cardstock was nice as well.
I will say I just liked a lot of the little designs that they had, in boards and cards, just kind of adding the Cthulhu pieces, just all the arms down at the bottom and throughout the just wrapped around and everything, as well as just each city kind of showing focal points in that city.
Right.
So
yeah, I definitely agree. The only thought that I had that would be nice is if it came with a little cheat sheet of what all the iconography meant.
Oh, that would be nice.
And it could just be a card double-sided even, and it just indicates those. So there are a few times, at least early on when you're teaching the game, when especially for newer players, they'll be like, what does this mean again? What does this mean again? But they might not want to reveal what's in their hand.
Right.
And so it's continually, hey, can I see the rule book? Can I see the rule book?
Yeah.
So that would be the one thing I think would be nice.
Yeah. All right, kind of transitioning pacing. What'd you think, Sean?
This is a lot more complicated than most deck builders I experienced, and as a result, there was pacing issues early on as we tried to figure out what each step meant and what are the implications of if I do this. And you have to ask these questions without actually telling people. So I'm a restorationist, right? What happens when I tell you that, you know? But other than that, once you get past that, it made sense. It's a deck builder, so it's going to be quick. It's a Euro-y type feel to it, where you're balancing resources and allocations to different locations. So it had a nice speed-up mechanic as well, because once we figured out who was who, it became, all right, get these things going. So the pacing, I think, worked out well, but it starts out slow, and maybe that's part of that psychological Cold War thriller I keep talking about.
Right, and I think that kind of plays into ease to learn. It's not the easiest game to learn initially, just because there's a lot of nuances that you're kind of like, doing this does this, you know, a lot of little things. So, but like once you do like fully understand it, it moves right along.
Yeah, definitely.
So, replayability.
Yep.
I'd say it's pretty good. The one thing I would be leery about is who you bring in to play this.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yes.
They have to be willing to think about their turns as well as be focused on the game, I guess. I would be leery of playing it with people that are on their phone and then they walk away for a bit and wait, how are the loyalists doing? Like it's telling too much.
Yep.
So they have to be invested.
Adding in a minute. I would agree. Definitely an aspect of I don't want to invite a very AP prone player. And I don't want to invite a player that shows too much of what's hidden.
Yes.
So if they're like, every chance they have, they're pushing loyalist or restorationist agendas, then all of a sudden it's like, well, now we all know we're just going to target someone. And so I think, you know, again, like you're mentioning, you need to bring certain people in. But we only used a small fraction of the cards.
Yeah, that's
a good point.
There's a lot of replayability in that regard.
Yeah.
That's really what I was gonna say too. Is just like we used a tiny bit of the cards. There's so many left that we haven't even touched or even seen. So, and even then, like each city is gonna be different again each time you play. So.
Yep.
Definitely.
So I think it has pretty high replayability for me. Anyway.
I'm pretty happy I bought the game. I would recommend it. There's a bit of a learning curve, but it is a good game that I would bring back. Multiple times.
And I guess going back to the ease of learning, there was some frustration in learning the rules.
Yeah.
There were a few issues in the rule book.
Yep.
And that caused some frustration. But once you figure it out, once you get around that, Board Game Geek is a great resource. There's a lot of great YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. So once you understand those, it's great.
Yeah.
But that was the main frustration I felt, but that was easily overcome.
Yep. Agreed.
So.
All right. Well, this has been A Studying Emerald. Tune in again next time. Star Wars role-playing. I'ma be a Wookiee. You look so deep in that. Or are you just making love to the camera?
I'm looking at the low battery, like wondering at what point it's gonna cut out the audio.
Boom! Time started.
I should replace that. Pause the timer. I'm worried it's gonna
Timer paused.
La 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 la.